Peru was absolutely breathtaking.
A once-in-a-lifetime thing.
The most incredible experience.
Well worth it.
Peru was a really cool
It was an
experience.
amazing trip that I will take with me for the rest of my life.
Really what started the idea for the trip is a student. We were talking about Machu Picchu and Peru and the Inca Empire and how everything was back then, and turns out one of my students was just super interested in Machu Picchu, and she had been for a while, and so she raised her hand and she just asked me if there was any way that would be possible for us to go, and I hadn't really thought about taking a group of students anywhere. But when she did ask that, it really got me thinking. I remember specifically going home that night and thinking, what would that be like if I took a group every year and they could plan, the kids could plan on that happening every single year, and so that's kind of what inspired it, so that just got the ball rolling from there.
It all started actually when I was in 4th grade and we were learning about Machu Picchu, and I don't know why, but I took this sudden interest in Machu Picchu in 4th grade. I was so young, but I knew that was the place my whole entire life I wanted to go. If I could go anywhere in the world, Machu Picchu was always the place I wanted to go. So as I took Spanish, when I got into 10th grade, Mr. Kendell was talking about it and we were learning about it. And I just thought maybe it would be possible for us as a class to go to Machu Picchu. And then Mr. Kendell came forward and said that he was making it possible, then we could go on the trip, and I went to my parents and told them I had to go. Like, this was the trip I've always wanted to go to. It's weird now looking at it because I've gone to the place I've always wanted to go to in my life and I'm only 17 years old, but I guess that gives me room to travel more of the world now.
Lima was great. I thought that city there was a lot going on. It was a very alive and cultural city. Lots of cathedrals everywhere, dating back to hundreds of years ago. So it's a very cultural place and pretty vibrant place as well.
I've been wandering to and fro and made my way to Chicago.
The Capitol building, there's a lot going on down there. There's the band playing in front of the Capitol. Everyone's watching. City Square, it's an amazing place.
Take to the skies.
It was nice not having everyone just like breathing down your neck, waiting, like the whole group waiting to see like what was gonna happen next. Like it was a lot more chill and mellow. And John Carlos was cool. He was a flirt.
There's always a but. But! Dang it! Hey, but, oh, but then that one will eat that one.
And checkmate.
And checkmate.
Hey, Cusco. Cusco.
Everything rises above the soul. Everything wants to be my friend indeed. What I want and what I need. I look up to my love and to my peace. Stay awake for a while and breathe my breath. But if it don't matter, then it matters to me. To the edge of space and the bottom of the sea. I only know where to make my home, but never when to stay and when to go.
There were so many llamas, so that was my favorite part, and everything. I have a llama necklace now and a sweater that has a llama on it. Seeing all the llamas and being able to interact with them, that was awesome.
The Sacred Valley was really cool. I liked being able to go see all the little kids, and like, I think that's more of what Peru really is. Like when you picture Peru, that's kind of what you think of as a Sacred Valley, because it's not a rich place, and that's where the flea markets and handmade things come from. And so it was cool being able to see like the real Peru versus just like tourist Peru.
Seeing your kids in the classroom compared to being on a trip like our trip in Peru, it's completely different. Ideally, as a Spanish teacher, you want to speak Spanish all the time in the classroom, but even if you do, you're still limited. You've got an hour and a half with the kids every other day. You really only have a certain amount of days within the year. Half of those days are spent with each of your kids because there's an A-day and B-day schedule. So really you don't get that much time exposing them to the language. And I honestly would say, going on this trip, that these kids were exposed with just the street signs and the signs in the grocery store. Everywhere they went, everything was in Spanish, and so they're completely immersed in the culture and in the language. And so for them to spend a whole entire week there, they were exposed to more Spanish in that time, I think, than an entire year of school, just because it was all day, every day. The coolest part was to watch them kind of get themselves into situations when we walk into the markets and stuff, and they'd realize I wasn't right there with them. I'd listen from a distance so that they didn't know necessarily that I was listening. And it was just awesome for me to hear them trying to make deals with the people in the markets and trying to use their numbers and different things that they've learned in Spanish and the different phrases that they've memorized. And that's what you build on when it comes to actually learning the language. And so the fact that they were actually out there and being forced to use it was fun. There was even one time on the trip that I remember one of our kids had to ask where the bathroom was, and I was close enough that they probably could have asked me, but it was cool for me to watch them actually struggle through it. And they tried to ask on their own to someone, and the person was giving them directions, and it was kind of cool to watch the lesson that we learned here in the classroom and then put it into practice. They're sitting there talking about, oh, it's to the left or it's down there to the right, and they're understanding what the person's saying. So it was a lot of fun to watch them practice all of that. So.
The upper world is represented by the condor.
The condor represents the spirit of the mountains. It's the messenger between the God and the man.
Coca leaves were the closest we got before the Spaniards arrived to currency.
Señor mío, altísimo poderoso, Padre mío, mis cristianos, tus manos, por la comida, tus emociones, que aquello que nos pide tu corazón.
Feet were sore, till my knees were weak, and I couldn't travel anymore. What would I say?
It was breathtaking just to see the views because you're at such a high elevation and the mountains are so pretty, and to see the Incans, how they built this whole entire empire from the bottom, it was awesome.
Swim the oceans, climb mountains too. But I'd just be wondering, what kind of man are you? What kind of man are you? What kind of man are you?
Having Mr. Kendell take a group of students on a trip like this, I think, is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for many kids. And as a parent, I would be completely confident in having him take a student. First, to have a teenager that wants to spend time with their parent is kind of cool, that she wasn't totally and completely embarrassed, that it was okay with her that I went. So to be able to experience that with her was amazing. It was a great opportunity for us to just have some one-on-one time, which we don't always get. I mean, in terms of not having the rest of our family there. But then to experience something so new and so different, it was great. If you're debating about whether or not to send your student on a trip like this, and it can be hard because it's expensive, make them work for it, but send them. There are certain things you can only learn through visiting other cultures and other people, other countries, and it's well worth it.
Are we ready?
Ready.
Oh Lord, oh Lord.
walked out to see the caimans. That was cool. And when Mr. Kendell broke the bench on the boat, that was really funny.
I'm wasting away and my heart is heavy. I feel like crumbling. I feel my life slip slowly by.
It's not bad. It's weird.
¿Hay más? Ya no hay más.
What were some of your favorite parts of the Amazon jungle?
Being able to jump into the river, it was scary because the water was so murky that we didn't really know what was underneath it, but it was kind of that adrenaline and that thrill. Fishing for piranhas was fun, even though we didn't catch any. Feeling them nip on the thing was scary because then we jumped in the water right after, but it was fun at the same time.
Where is home? It seems I'm taking the wrong road. The lights ahead are dimming. They sure ain't growing bright. But I've gone this far.
So this was the first trip that Kendell's Travelers has ever done, and Peru was insane. It was amazing. I was super stoked to get the kids out there, but once we got there, the expectations we had were surpassed by 1,000. It was unreal. Everything about it was stress-free for me, fun for the kids, fun for me. It was educational. It was an adventure. I mean, we were in the Amazon. That's amazing. We were in Peru at the top of the Andes Mountains. I mean, not a lot of people can say that they've been to those places, they've had that experience. And so Peru to me, there's not really any one or two or three adjectives to describe it. It was just the most incredible experience, not only to be there, but to watch my students be able to also be there and have the same experience.
How long's it gonna rain for?